Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we are going to be doing this very spring-inspired tumbler. Now we are going to be doing some hand painting, but you know what, guys? These flowers are so insanely easy, and I know you got this. I first did these little flowers in my mentorship group last year, and they can be done in any type of coloring, any type of way you would like to. Like I said, super easy. As always, I'll make sure to put everything I used today down in the description box below. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let's wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. The tumbler I'm going to be using today is a 40-ounce Ashland brand tumbler I got from Michael's. It came with everything, the straw and all that matched. I really loved this green color. That kind of inspired me to go with the colorings that I did today. But it was on mega sale, that's why I got it, and that's why I'm using it. So we're going to be doing this antique look to the base. I went ahead and spray painted my base Modern Mint, which actually matched perfectly the coloring that the tumbler already was. I also have a copper color metallic, and I have some rubbing alcohol. So what you want to do is you want to spray down your metallic paint. You want a pretty good heavy-handed dousing of your metallics. Then you're going to take your rubbing alcohol and you're going to spray over top of that. And what's going to happen is it's going to separate the paints and give it this very antique look to it. And then you're just going to keep going and fill it up as much as you would like to. I'm going to go ahead and do it again so that way you guys can see it. Again, you just pretty heavy. You want it to be pretty heavy, and then make sure you spritz it right away. See how in the heavier areas it separates better? That's why you want to make sure there's not too much of the thinness happening. But as you start to layer it on, it'll all kind of blend together, so you don't need to worry about that. But if there's areas that you're just not liking, there were areas for me too that I just wasn't digging, so you're going to take the same base color you had and you can layer it up. Don't be afraid to layer it, so you can come through and kind of fix it if you need to here and there. So if there's just weirdness going on, and you also want to keep in mind that we are going to be applying things over it, this is just a base for what we are eventually going to be painting over top. Now I just used one metallic for this, but I think this would be really pretty with multiple color metallics, like a gold. My gold was all messed up. my cap was clogged, and I didn't feel like running to the store, so I just did one color today. But this would be pretty, layered up with all kinds of different metallics, I think. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let you guys watch me finish this up. I just want you to know that it will feel like you're not doing it correctly when you first do it. And then as you get going, you'll be like, okay, it's looking good. All right, so, the feeling's mutual if you go to do this. So again, you're about to see me take that Modern Mint and layer it over top of the metallics and keep going with the same process of spritzing it with the rubbing alcohol and the metallic. Now here I'm going to make little speckles by barely holding that nozzle down, and it's just going to release just a bunch of little speckles all over the place, and I'm just going to load the tumbler up with a bunch of those speckles. So again, the best thing I can say is making sure that you layer it on pretty thick. Again, I layered it on with that Modern Mint. I did a coating of that over top of the metallic, and then I came through and did a little bit of the Modern Mint, and still going in while everything's still wet with the metallic again, and then spritzing with rubbing alcohol. And see, it's foolproof, right? Because typically we're like, whoa, no, don't get too much on there, but you want a lot on there, so that way it gives this separated antique look to it. Okay, see, I know you guys got this. So after I feel like I've done a good job here, keeping in mind that I am going to be painting over top, I like the way that looks. I like the layering effect there. I'm going to go ahead and set that off to the side and let that fully dry before the next step. Before I paint, because especially if like you're new at painting, you want to go ahead and apply a coating of epoxy over top so that way, again, if you don't like it, you can easily wipe it off, right? Okay, so into my epoxy, I added a little bit of Jupiter just to add a little bit of sparkle to it. It's like a shifting gold and it turns to like red. I also added just a little bit of champagne, I do believe, and this is sparkle dust, all from socglitters.com if you'd like to purchase it. Just adds a little hint of sparkle, So I'm gonna go ahead and mix that in really good to my epoxy. Go ahead and get that applied to my tumbler. Look at the sparkle, see, so pretty. Then I'll come through and hit it up really good with my torch, popping all those little micro bubbles, and let that cure completely before we start painting over top. All right, she's cured and she's beautiful as is. You could just add some decals over top and you're good to go, but we're gonna hand paint today, guys. Come on, let's do this. So the little brush I'm going to be using today, this is, I believe, a size 2 round brush. I like the size of it. I like how it does the petals for my flowers. So that's what I'm going to be using. Now I'm going to be using 2 colors today, but you could just use all white. You don't need to do the 2-tone look. My thought was to use the sea glass color because it almost kind of blends in with the modern mint of the base. My idea was it to look kind of like faded, like shadowed in the back. So again, you don't have to do this, but this is my first layering of flowers. We're going to be doing 2 layers of flowers and I want it to swoop and swirl around. So you want to have it start, if you're doing a handle, this is a great starting point. You start at the very top and you're going to end right at the bottom of the tumbler on the opposite side of that handle. So down below, right at the very bottom of that tumbler is where you're going to end. So you start up at the top, bring it all the way around to the bottom, straight under that handle. Start at the handle at the top, end at the handle at the bottom. We're going to go ahead and load up our brush with our color. Keeping it relatively small, we're going to start off with 1 petal at the top, 2 petals flanking the sides, and 2 petals flanking the bottom, making 5 petals, almost in the shape of a starfish. Then you're just going to continue on that process. And I want you guys, again, to keep in mind that this is the bottom layer of your flowers, okay? So this is a great opportunity for you to kind of get the swing of how you want your flower, how big you want your flowers to be, how these petals swoosh together, so that way you can get the feel of it, because this is going to be the bottom layer, all right? We're going to be adding our white flowers over top and covering up any little weird inconsistencies. And again, since we're doing it on an epoxy base, you can easily wipe this away if you just really aren't into what you're painting. But trust me when I say, even if you have weird flowers, just paint over top, okay? You don't need to wipe anything away. Keep them, all right? Because nature isn't perfect either, okay? So just keep going and get this layer down, and I know you got this. So again, I'm going to continue this process where I start at the top of the handle and then continue to swirl it around to the bottom of the tumbler at the very, lining up with the bottom of the handle on the opposite side. You're also going to notice that I am not grouping them completely together. I have some that are standalone. I have some that are grouped together. I'm just thinking of branches and how those look. So I'm just kind of thinking ahead because we are going to be painting some branches on as well. All right, without sticking my hand in, I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I have so far. So this is how mine are looking. I want this layer to dry before we move on to that next step. So I'm gonna set that off to the side. Now I was feeling a little fancy, so I have just basic brown, which you could do your branches as, but I was like, you know what? I have this gold. I'm going to use this. I know it's ready to pour acrylic painting. It's okay. It'll work just fine. It's a bit thin, but that's what I want. I want it delicate. I want it thin. So that's what I'm going to use for my branches. But of course, brown works too. Now again, I have, what is this? I think it's a liner brush. It's like a liner brush, like a size 2 liner, or you could just use the same size 2 round brush to do it, they're almost the same. But to do my branches, see how I'm twisting it? That I'm just trying to show you the basics. You're twisting as you're pulling. That's pretty much what we're going to be doing to create our branches. You don't want them perfect. And of course, you can practice on a piece of paper or something before you get started on your tumbler. And again, keep in mind, you can just paint over top of it if you don't like it, okay? Because we're going to be doing another layer of flowers over top. I practice too, see I'm going to take a little bit of my paint and I'm just going to twist it around, and that's how I want my branches to look. All right, and it's all about the pressure that you get applied to it too. If you're light-handed, so the bristles are barely touching, it'll make it look one way. If you're hard-handed, it'll make it thicker. So you just kind of play around with it until you like how it looks. Starting at the very top, I'm just imagining where I want my branches to be. As I make that line, I am just going to twist my fingers back and forth. Some branches are going to be over top of the flowers, while some I'm just going to just take right off of some of these flowers, just kind of off doing their own thing, because again, we're going to be building up flowers over top and they all don't need to be connected. And as I got going, if something needs a second layer, add a second layer over top, because like I said, the paint that I'm using is kind of thin, so I'm just going to keep that in mind and just keep on going and layering and making it look how I want it to look. All right, and here are how my branches are looking. So I like it, very nice. Trying not to stick my fingers in it so I could show you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and swirl that all the way around. And this is what I got. I think I did some on the bottom as well. I think nope, I'm not gonna tip it up, maybe. Nope, I didn't. Okay, anyways, I did a little bit on the bottom too, okay? So let's set that off to the side and let that dry. It's fully dry, and let's add our finishing flowers. I just have a basic white acrylic paint. And using the same brush we used for our first row of flowers, we are going to take that white paint and we are going to start painting our starfish looking flower here with 3 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and we're going to continue that all the way up and around to the bottom. And doing just like I did with the first layer, I'm going to have clusters of these flowers together. I'm going to have some just off and doing their own thing without even a branch hanging on, So these are our ending flowers. So you just want to maybe take a little bit more time and make sure they're as nice as you can get them to look. And I did make these a little bit bigger as well. I just decided it's just like a tad bigger. That's all I did. So again, just kind of keeping some of those branches exposed, and it's really all in how you're feeling it should look, because like I always say, there is no right or wrong when it comes to making art. However you feel it should look is exactly how it should look. So just relax, take your time, and I know it's going to be absolutely beautiful in the end. You're doing amazing. Now, after I have my flowers all filled in, I'm going to come through and just add some petals just kind of floating around. So it's just one little swoosh. That's all you got to do. If you want to do that, it's up to you. And of course, you could add some like extra just little flowers randomly floating in the air too, however you want to finish this up. And again, we're going to let that dry completely before we move on to the next step. So we're going to add some glittery centers to our flowers here, and I'm only going to do the flowers we just did, the ones that are on the very top. The first layer of flowers that we did, I'm just going to pretend like they're facing away from me and just focus on the ones that are on top, and those ones are the ones that are facing me. So that's why they're getting a little glittery center. So we're just going to take a little bit of glue and dab it right in the center, and I'm just going to take some gold or whatever color you'd like to use, and I'm going to sprinkle it right over top. Shake off the extra there, and there we go. Look at that. We got little centers to our flowers, and then I'm just going to finish up the rest of these. And you guessed it, after we're done, we need it to dry completely before we move on to that next step. So I'm just going to place that off to the side. And after that glue is fully dried, we're going to take our chip brush and sweep away any extra glitter that we just don't want on this tumbler. And what I forgot to show you is the next step, where I apply a coat of epoxy over top of this. Okay, so get your coating of epoxy on top. Here's my wet epoxy, and I'm going to hit it up with my torch before I apply any type of glitter to it. You don't want to do it after you apply the glitter, you know? I don't know. That's just how I feel. Anyways, sticking with the light, airy mint green color, this is called Evergreen. And again, this is from my glitter shop, SSC Glitters, if you'd like to use it. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to apply it in a swirl to match the pattern of the flowers. I don't want to overpower the flowers. I just want to accentuate the flowers. And of course, you're going to add as much or as little as you would like of this. If you even want to do this at all, I don't know. You might not even want to do this part. But I wanted to, okay? But just keeping it in straight lines, just pinching it and trying to keep it all uniform. I'm just going to keep on going until I like the way it looks. Of course, after this layer has cured, you want to come through and seal it up with a few more coats of epoxy, making sure it is nice and smooth, and then she is ready to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial today. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.